I'm Joe Markovich. I'm a business exit planner, and I'm here today talking with my assistant, and we're talking about the questions that business owners have when they're thinking about transitioning out of their business. So, what happens in a situation like that? That's called acquisition. So there are companies, private equity companies, and instead of people putting money into big corporations, stock, or whatever, they're putting into private equity that goes out and buys actually successful small businesses. And they acquire these businesses because they're little machines and they're making good money, and that money returns, a profit to the investors. So you may get some kind of equity buyer, or you could get a strategic buyer. Maybe there's someone a little bit bigger than you or whatever, or that sees your business as a way to increase their capacity, right, to grow by through acquisition. And they might, it might be a strategic. In fact, when you're looking at the exit planning process, you actually start to think about, the third question that I asked. So what's the date you want to leave your business? Like, not just like 5 years from now, but like, okay, May, 2025, May 3rd, 2030, whatever
Mm-hmm.
that is, right? That's what I'm talking about. And how much money do you want to get out of your business, right? Your investment. We can get evaluated. We definitely get it evaluated at the beginning to figure out what it's worth right now. Because if it's worth something now and you're going to exit in 10 years and needs to be double that amount, right? then
Mm-hmm.
it's worth, then you got some work to do, right? It makes
Yeah.
sense. And that's exit planning, right? Not only just kind of, putting a plan together, but actually helping you to close that gap over where you are now and where you want to be, 5 or 10 years from now, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the value drivers I talked about. That is, there are things that add value, transferable value to your business, and what willing buyers are going to pay for. Uh, so, so that's the thing, and the third thing is, who do you sell your business to? Like, do you want to sell it to your employees? Because that's an option, or your managers. Like, that is sometimes business owners don't even think about. Um, well, I've got a great management team, but they got no money. They don't have money to buy the business. Well, actually, in exit planning, there are specific ways to fund that purchase that, in fact, um, can provide the owner with a greater net um, value from their business than actually selling it to a third party, because there's ways that you can be structured. So the money is a secondary to whether you want to sell. If you want to sell it to your managers, you'd love, and there's a way to fund it, would you do it? That's the question. Or you may have children. So say you've got children that are interested in business, and you've got children that maybe aren't interested in the business. How do you deal with that? How are you going to make it fair for everybody? That's exit planning. That's exit planning. Um, you have a situation where you want to retain your key employees when you do sell the business, or and you want to make sure that they won't leave as soon as you leave, because you know often a buyer will look at your business as, hey, you've got a key management team here, and yeah, great guys, got a team of 5 people, solid, whatever, the best. What guarantees do I have that they're going to be here when you leave? Well, an exit planned uh, business owner would say, well, I've got a incentive plan uh, with my key employees that's tied. It's deferred. It's tied to their. They've got, in order for them to get that money at some point, they need to stay here 3 years after the business, if the business changes hands, right?
Mm.
I've got that agreement with them. They could leave. I can't hold them with a gun. Nobody can, right? But if there's a significant amount of money, say for example, they get some portion of the sale of the business that's sitting there, and provided they have to stay 3 years to get it, then That gives the buyer more assurance that, okay, these guys have an incentive to stay. That's important. These kinds of things are important. So um, one of the things that um, we do as exit planners, which is ultimately the value that a buyer has, is that we do the due diligence. You remember I talked about due diligence is when the lawyer is going to ask this, and the banker is going to ask for that, or these people on the buyer side are going to be asking you for stuff, right? When that happens, that's the due diligence process, right? That's okay. We're going to need statements. We're going to need this. We're going to need agreements. We're going to need to see this. We're going to need to see that. All these different things. There's a checklist of items. It's going to be substantial, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you've gone through that list before somebody shows up and you've pretty much got them checked off already in the bank or whatever in a file somewhere that you can just share with appropriate authorization and all that sort of stuff that happens, right? You need to have that. It just makes logical sense that that's going to go a lot smoother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because like if you're not prepared and you're a business owner and you're like all of a sudden someone shows up at the door, or or someone's got an offer or things like that, and you've got to deal with all this due diligence, and you haven't done any work towards it or don't have it in place, it's going to take a hell of a lot of your time and attention and disrupt your business. In fact, if you're thinking like, how people when they have a vacation coming up, right? Imagine you got your retirement coming up in the last 6 months, and you're just like couldn't care whatever. That's what can happen, and then guess what? Business starts to fall apart. People get unsettled. What's going on. Depends if people know or not what's happening. Often it's not shared with the employees until it happens. Things like that for confidentiality. But you can imagine how disruptive it's going to be if you, the owner, are trying to deal with all that. At the same time, you're trying to keep things smooth and, have the ride at the PNE operating smoothly, the Ferris wheel going for, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what exit planning does, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exit planning. So the whole way we work is in a step-by-step process, right? Step 1 to step 7, or 7 steps in the process, but each step has its purpose, and each step is important to the whole process being successful.